everyone, and welcome back to another great Super Cool Radio interview. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before I start talking about my guest, just a quick reminder to thumbs up this video and make sure to subscribe and turn the notification bell. That way you not miss any new interviews or episodes. I have an awesome guest who will be joining me momentarily. He is Steve Ramone out of Chicago. In May, he released his latest album entitled Chasing Daylight. In this interview, we discuss how he gets started as a musician, writing and recording Chasing Daylight, some of the legendary guests that are featured on the album, and all things music. It is an incredible conversation. I hope you enjoy, and please check out and support Steve Ramone. So right now, let's dive into this interview. Before we jump into the show, I want to tell you about our merch store on Threadless. Shop a wide variety of logos with multiple colors and sizes available for each design. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps us continue to make killer content like this episode. Please visit supercoolradio.threadless.com or the link in the description to shop now. I got a great guest joining me at this time. In May, he released his latest album entitled Chasing Daylight. Please welcome Chicago-based power pop rock musician Steve Ramone.
Hey, how's it going? What's up, you crazy kids? Thanks for having me, Matthew.
Of course, it's very nice to have you on the podcast. I got my Chicago Cubs hat for this interview.
I'm a big fan. And you know, let me tell you, you went about that correctly, because anybody that tells you they're a Cubs and Sox fan, you immediately need to check for your wallet, okay? Because that does not exist, all right?
That's some good advice next time I'm in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was funny. I was in Chicago just over the weekend. I had my Cubs hat on, and the first person I met at the event I was at, like, "Oh, hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm a Sox fan." I'm like, "Oh, that's nice."
yeah, it's baptism by fire, my friend, in this town. You know, people are friendly, but people are a bit tribal sometimes, especially when it comes to baseball. It's been a long, hard road for fans of both teams, so you know they take it pretty seriously around here. And don't even get me started on pizza. You know, that just gets crazy then.
That's for sure. Maybe that'd be for the next interview. We'll talk about pizza.
There you go.
All right, so before we jump in and discussing, signing with Pavement, the latest album, and your upcoming plans, I got a fun question to kick this interview off. So outside of your own music, what music have you been listening to this week?
What music have I been listening to this week? There's a couple interesting ones. Okay, so I've been listening to Bela Fleck. He's a phenomenal banjo player, and if you look him up, he's the man's a prodigy. He's just an amazing, not a prodigy. The man's a genius, a prodigy. You know, somebody young that does that stuff. But no, he's been doing it a long, long time, and he is absolutely amazing and inspiring. And then the people that he brings in with him are great, and you end up seeing these folks touring. Like a perfect example, one of his saxophone players. Toured with him one summer, and then the next summer I'm at a Dave Matthews concert, and there he is. You know, it's like, because the man functions as a kind of clearinghouse for fabulous musicians that are up and coming. The other band, completely different end. I've been or person I've been listening to is Delbert McClinton. He has a new band, not a new record out. It's been out for a little while, but I didn't really catch on to it for now. And he's got this fabulous song. Whoever says love is easy, they ain't in love with you. And it just, I started listening to the guy. I'm like, man, this guy has a way with words. And then the other one that I've been listening to is crazy as it sounds, Keith Urban. I've been going on a deep dive on Keith Urban's band, because those Nashville cats have a special way of putting bands together. And I've been really picking it apart and trying to understand what it is they do to create they have this thing. They have this ability to create this feeling of like a locomotive going down the tracks yet it's controlled, and yet it's yet unquantifiable. So I've been doing deep dives on all the Nashville players lately to see how it is those touring bands come, get that thing happening. Brent Mason's another player. And then just last night, I was listening to Ry Cooder, the Buena Vista Social Club. Are you familiar with the Buena Vista Social Club?
I'm not, no.
Dude, okay, so really, really quick story here. Ry Cooder goes down to Havana, Cuba about 15 years ago, maybe more. And no, it's more, 15, 20 years ago now. And because back in the 60s, before Fidel overthrew Cuba, the best Latin jazz musicians all played in Havana every single night. These people were incredible. They were world-class talents. Fidel comes in, takes everything over. Next thing you know, one of them's making shoes. Another one's, one's a cobbler. Another one's, whatever. They're gone. They're lost to history. Ry Cooder finds a couple of old records, goes down to Havana, finds these guys, puts a band together, makes a documentary and a record. It's absolute must listening and viewing for anybody that really cares about, music and harmony and understanding where a lot of this stuff comes from,
Well, that's truly incredible. I'm not familiar with that at all, but it sounds really amazing. I definitely have to check that out.
I would not waste time. Ry Cooder is the guy that played all the, him and Steve Vai played all the guitars on that movie Crossroads with Ralph Macchio way back in the day. Yep. So, that's really where he got his, where he came to some notoriety. And then he played with John Hyatt in a band called Little Village for a while. But if you do a deep dive on Ry Cooder, I promise you're going to be cursing my name going, gee, and your girlfriend's going to be bitching at you going, can we leave yet? So it's one of those deals. I promise you.
All right. I know what I'm going to be doing over the weekend. All right. So now focusing on you. So before we start talking about the new album, so for you, how'd you get started as a musician?
Oh, wow. I talked to, it's been in my head, since the time, since I can recollect having, something of a conscience and a memory. I was baptized very late for some reason. And I remember I was probably my mom says I was like 2.5, almost 3 years old. And I remember this because I remember the priest, getting down on her for waiting so long. And then I remember the music in the background, the organ music in the background. I was, and to this day I was able to, much later, I was able to remember that music. I was like, oh, it was key of A minor. It was once I had a trained ear and I knew what it was. I knew exactly what it was. It was Ave Maria in A minor. And like, okay. So there was that. And then when I was probably 5 or 6 or 7, my older cousin turned me on to Elvis Presley. And then I just went insane. I just absolutely went insane. His album Live in Aloha from Hawaii in Honolulu was just, seminal for me. You had all kinds of great players. You had, Donald Duck Dunn on bass. You had James Burton on guitar and his band. You had all these crazy, monstrous country and Nashville cats playing in his band, the Memphis Mafia. They were just absolutely amazing. And then you had Elvis. He was so charismatic. He was a showman. He was all that. But then he had the pipes and the musicianship and the artistry and the phrasing and the touch and the power and all of that to back it up. And it just blew my mind. And so from that moment on, I went absolutely, music crazy. It was all I could really think about. Then from that moment on, I just, hounded my parents for records and stuff like that. And then when I heard the Beatles, I started hounding them for a guitar. And that's pretty much where, it all comes from, somewhere between Elvis and the Beatles and all the, and all the Latin, Hispanic, salsa music I grew up listening to from that side of the family. It's all just like a big bowl of spaghetti in there,
Wow, that was a great rundown of everything, and like hearing kind of the backstory of how you got into music, like hearing fan of Elvis, the Beatles, and the Latin music. Like I can hear those kind of influences in your style of music.
They're all there, man. They are absolutely all there. It's what I love to do. It's like I was able to take all that stuff, and I did. Honestly, I write 3-4 minute pop songs about chicks that would not go out with me in high school. That's really what I do. And there were a lot of them, so I got plenty of songs, and I got lots of blackboard to work with. So I like taking the different influences. The other thing I really like doing is like when somebody comes in and plays on one of my songs, I don't tell them what to play. They're always like, well, what are you looking for here? I'm looking, well, I asked you to come down, so I'm looking for you to come and play, So it's like, I always tell them the same thing. Do you, that's why you're down here in this room, because I heard something you did and I liked it. And so like, here you go, play what you think you ought to play here. And it always, not every time, but 9 times out of 10, it works out. I end up getting something out of them that they're passionate about, that they really feel. And it comes from a place deep in their soul. And you just can't go wrong when you do that,
Oh, exactly. And that's kind of what music is. You have to feel the music, right? You have to feel what's natural for you with the music.
Yes. And I don't care if it makes you tap your foot. I don't care if you dance. I don't care if you scream and shout, whatever. I don't care if you just sit there and watch. But if I know you're engaged, if I can tell that I'm making a difference, or that I'm making an impact, or that I'm even for just 5 to 30 minutes giving you a respite from all the craziness in the world, or whatever, crap is going on in your life. If I can do that, man, I think I've, I think I've accomplished something more than just scratching my personal itch, my need to play music in front of people, because we're all narcissists. We all are. I mean, none of us would do, dude. There's no law that says you got to get up on a stage and do this stuff. You can just put the music out. You don't have to go out there and jump around and smile and stuff like that. And we do it because we want to. Don't let anybody lie to you about that, man. We all want to get up there. We all want our moment to rock out with a guitar in our hands.
Oh, no, for sure. I could definitely see that. And you're actually not the first person to say something very similar on my podcast to that. So, no, definitely, it's very true. It's like, but it's also, you have fun. It's also fun. Like, yes, it's that side of it, well, but also it's fun. Who doesn't like to rock out and have fun?
Absolutely. And, I remember seeing, I've seen bands, I'm not going to name the name, but I mean, one of the biggest bands ever. And I remember seeing them and you could tell they hated being there. They did not want to be on tour. And, the media talked about how they didn't want to, but when you got there and saw the show, it's like they're going through hit after hit after hit. And you're like, they're hating this. And I walked out feeling, cheated somewhat, not that I didn't still love the band. I loved them before I went there, loved them after I went there, but I didn't need to fork over the hard-earned cash to see that. I could have just bought the anthology or something like that, instead, and kept my fabulous memory of that band. So I don't know. There's more to it than just the ones and zeros on the CD, right? There's more to it than that. There has to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't touch us in the manner it does.
Exactly. Couldn't say anything better. And it's one thing to listen to music, but you have to, if people if they enjoy what they're doing, they have that energy, they have the passion, and you have that connection with the audience.
Yeah, passion. That's the thing, man. Whether it's smiling or whether they're angry, regardless of the way their demeanor, if you can sense passion, you can create a connection.
Exactly, and emotion. You have to see that emotion, regardless of what it is. It could be angry, it could be happy, it could be fun, but you have to have some type of emotion.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
So now I do want to talk about, so you in May released your latest album entitled Chasing Daylight through Pavement Entertainment. So before we start talking about the album, how was it signing with Pavement? What drew you to sign with that label?
Right. So it was a little bit of luck and a little bit of, it's the old saying, and success is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
I played, I've known Chips enough since I was a little kid, really, and I came up, learning how to play from him and Donnie, and we all grew up in the same little town there. And Chip had been working with Chuck Bernal from Artists Worldwide for the longest time, and he had a connection with them. Mark Nawara and Tim King from Pavement, their band Soil is wonderful. So he had that connection, and through Chip and Chuck, I was able to get some songs to them. And, they're like, well, this isn't really what we do. This is kind of like on the lighter side of what we do, but they believed in the songs, and, God bless them, to their credit. They took a chance on me, and I couldn't be happier working with those guys. It's been an absolutely wonderful experience. Their team is top notch. They know how to get everything done. They are a rare combination of musician and businessman, and they are really good at what they do. I'm really thankful. And I'm pushing so hard to sell downloads and records and stuff, because it kicks in my second album deal with them. And I really want to stick with these guys. That's how much I love them. I really am thankful for the opportunity I got. So that's how that whole thing happened.
No, I'm really glad you're enjoying working with them, and it's a mutual between you supporting them and they supporting you, and the music is the centerfold of all of that as well. So I'm glad you're having a really positive experience, and I definitely look forward to the new album as well. But before we even talk about that, I got to talk about Chasing Daylight. So I like the name of it. How'd you come up with the name for the album?
Oh, wow. It's it ended up coming to me in the shower. It was the craziest thing. God, I don't know what it is about rain or showers or hot tubs or something, but for some reason, man, I always come up with good stuff. But no, it was I was trying to get out the door in time before dark set, because forgot where we were going or whatever. I don't know. It was a fireworks show or something like that, man. And I remember thinking, I'm chasing daylight, and we were chasing daylight here, and I just thought, and for some reason the phrase popped into my head, and I immediately thought it must have been something I heard in an old Western or something like that. But then I thought about how absolutely apropos it is to what we're all going through, whether we want to talk about ourselves in a from a personal perspective or more of a philosophical perspective. We have X amount of time here to do whatever it is that we're going to do. So regardless of your age and regardless of where you're at in your life, you can always look at it like you're chasing daylight, because you really are. You really are. There's a finite number of minutes and seconds that you have. There's X amount of times you will have first dates. X amount of times you'll make love. X amount of times you'll go see, an incredible band. There are X amount of times. There is a limit to these things. And if you look through the thread of most of the lyrics in the songs, you'll see that they're about that. That this is about just absolutely having to say and do the things you want to say and do before the sun sets on you. And it was a very poignant moment for me. I went from being all happy and buzzy and stuff to getting out of the shower and getting ready and being very contemplative the rest of the night. And almost to the point where the people around me were like, what the hell's the matter with you? I'm like, I got a good one. I got a good one on my mind right now. Do not get in the way of this process, because I'm writing one of my best songs ever right now in my head while these fireworks are going off, man. And it stuck with me, and I immediately knew it was the name of the record. I immediately knew that I was going to write a big old epic song around that title, and I knew it was going to have suspended chords. I knew what key it was going to be. I knew all of it. And when I brought it to Chip the next day, he looked at me. He's like, son of a, you did another one. It's like, because we're always trying to outright each other, but so that's where that whole thing came from, man. It's I'm still running, and I'm still running behind, and that's just that's just it.
Oh no, for sure. I really like the meaning behind it, because it's like with everyone, we have a limit. There's X amount of times we will do stuff, as you said, and we don't know what our limit's going to be. We don't know how many times we'll be able to do something, because we don't know how long, we're going to be here. So I really like that. And I think it's really cool. And I like that connection you made. And then like the kind of, the way you kind of weave that throughout the entire album as well.
That was, that's where Jesus, at this point, that's where I should be. I should be able to create songs that have meanings, beyond what beyond just like the face value of the words. It's like you can just hum along to them, and they might not mean something. Sunny Day is one that people talk about. What a happy, fun, bouncy song. I'm like, that song's about just like a terrible breakup and anger and hatred and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm glad you like it and stuff or whatever, but don't listen to the words. It'll don't pay attention to the words. It's going to ruin the song for you, but that's what I do. That's what makes a pop song cool. That's what makes a 3-minute song, listenable. And it's just like, it's like a good 3-minute song is like waking up in the morning and going to bed content at night. Maybe you're tipsy, maybe you're with somebody, you just got done making love, maybe whatever, maybe you just got out, just stuffed a whole bunch of big old burrito down your throat, whatever, but you're content either way. That's what a good 3-minute song is.
I like that. I really like that. It's a perfect way of describing it. Now, and I did want to talk about, you have some legendary guests that were featured on this album. Who was featured on this, and how did you come about determining hey, I want you on the album, or did they reach out to you? How did all that come about?
Yeah, I really got to, well, some of it's relationships, right? And some, the people you meet backstage and along the way and stuff like that. A lot of, and, Chips Enough had a huge impact in that. And my wife, for example, even, she went to high school with, and played in the high school band with Todd Zuckerman from Styx, So, I mean, you make connections like that, it's a weird thing. The pandemic was going on, so people weren't touring, people weren't working, they were itching to play, so there was a lot of cool stuff going on there. Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick, the drummer from Cheap Trick, Rick's son, who's the drummer now, he played on 3 songs. He played on Chasing Daylight. He played on what did he play? He played on the Elvis cover, Suspicious Minds. That was real cool. And he played on the second one, Breakaway. So that was a lot of fun working with him. Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake, played the guitars on Time to Go and Tranquila. That was just an amazing experience when his tracks would get sent back to us, and we'd all be sitting in the studio, and we'd be sitting there. We'd be working on whatever, but we'd have his songs queued up because at any moment an email could come in, and our engineer would be like, "All right, we got another one." I'm like, "Oh, key it up. Let's listen to it." And we'd listen to it, and we're like little schoolgirls just giggling away, having fun with it, but. It was a lot of fun having cats like that. Andre Bautista, one of the finest session drummers around here. He actually is the guy. He owns a shop, a percussion shop here in Chicago, in the city, where he tunes things like timbales and percussion and stuff like that. Neil Peart would send him his timbales and stuff like that to tune, and it's amazing work he did. He played on Tranquila, a lot of Latin percussion stuff like that. So Dan McGuinness, the singer from CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revisited, came in, and he's the guy that sang the harmonies on Somehow, Somewhere, Some Way, and he sang harmonies on Suspicious Minds. That guy has pipes of the world. I'm talking about pipes that fill a room in a dominant fashion where you don't really want to sing after you hear him sing. It was amazing listening to that guy just belt stuff out, man. So we had an amazing time recording. Oh, and then let's not forget, Chips Enough is in my mind, is the finest pop bass player, in this hemisphere. I don't know anybody that can play on a pop bass, play bass on a pop song. Maybe Leland Sklar, that guy with the long beard from James Taylor and stuff like that. That guy's pretty scary too. But Chip's just a musician on an insane level. Donnie V, the same. That guy, his mind is just so fertile. I mean, from a harmonic standpoint, it's a harmonically fertile mind, and the harmonies and ideas that come out of it are just so effortless and beautiful and lofty yet powerful at the same time. It's like you can't lose when you got guys like that, man. You really can't,
No, you can't. You had a really all-star team of musicians, that were performing on this album. And just one quick thing I did want to say about Chips Enough, he's so smooth. Like just the bass playing is just so smooth that that's how he's so good. Like he's just so smooth with everything he does.
Effortless. I talked to him today. He's on tour with the Choir. I toured with him and the Choir Boys last year. Actually, Enough's Enough was my backup band for my tour when I opened for the Choir Boys last year. And yeah, he's amazing. He can take any bass and just not even touch it and just play it, and it sounds like him, and it just sounds big and punchy and authoritative. The guy's a monster player. Yeah, he's on tour with the Choir Boys right now, so check those guys out. They're pretty good.
Oh yeah, definitely that. I interviewed one of the bands touring with Enough's Enough and Choir Boys recently, Bad Marriage, and they always have also the Glam Slam tour that they have, like always looks good. They have great opening bands, great touring bands with them. Like it looks like a lot of fun.
Bad Marriage. That's he was in Tesla, right?
One of the guitar
one of the guys was in Tesla. Yeah, monster player. Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, absolutely, good band. Really like them a lot.
For sure. I had a great time chatting with them. But yeah, no, it's just so cool, the connections that never you make with stuff like that. It's the only reason I brought it up is I just I recently interviewed them. But for you, so if anyone hasn't checked out Chasing Daylight yet, which I do highly encourage everyone, please do. What can they expect? Like just the overall encompass of the album.
It would be sort of like. It's cool because there's stuff on there for everybody. Tranquila is that's one of my favorites. It's like a Latin based song. It's really cool. There's that, but the vast majority of stuff on there is stuff that can be listened to from a bunch of perspectives. I have a 13-year-old, and I caught that little song. I caught him humming one of the songs the other day. He'll never admit it, but I know I caught him humming one of my songs. And so it's like, I'm like, yeah, I got you, I got you. But really, if you're an old school rocker, you're going to love this. It's because basically I end up sounding like a combination of Cheap Trick and, Tom Petty and John Cougar and Squeeze all rolled up into one. And that's pretty much what everybody comes out saying, throwing some Elvis Costello in there too, and that's pretty much what you're going to get. But the thing about it is that you're going to get it done on a level that, don't get me wrong, those guys were all good and they're great players. And, Petty, his band was amazing. Absolutely. But the thing about it is that everybody in the band is a monstrous player, and so you not only get that cool, heavy band that comes at you straight up and really hard and with a lot of authority, but you get some nuance too. And so, everybody in the band gets to stretch out a little bit every single night. And when you realize that these are killers up there, and they're all doing their thing and then coming back together to make my thing, sound right. It's, it takes it to another level. So the live show, whereas, a lot of these pop bands that, they sound pretty on the record, but man, when you get them on stage, they can barely hit a note or something. That's not what you get when you see us. If anything, it's more powerful. It's prettier, it's heavier, it's definitely heavier live, and that's what you get from a live show. We show up and yeah, we throw it out. It's what we love to do, man. It's why we're doing this.
Oh no, for sure. And for you, do you have a favorite song to perform live in your set?
The one I'm playing, that's my favorite, man.
That's good.
No, there's I do. The answer is yes, but it tends to change. I don't really have a favorite song of mine that I like to play in a set. They're like children, so I kind of like them all. And I generally don't put something in the set unless I think it moves the set along in a certain way or does something or has some kind of effect. And I do the same thing with any covers that we throw in, because I'm not ashamed to say I love throwing in covers. I love throwing in old school covers and generally when I throw in a cover, you don't even know it's a cover, because it's like, it's something off of a B-side or whatever, but it's one of my favorite songs. I will say I have a special affection for Suspicious Minds because I front it. It's the only song in the set that I front. It's usually the last song of the night. And so the idea, I just get to walk out there with a microphone stand and, and have a killer band behind you, just pumping that song out. It gets pretty special, especially when, it's like when the song really hits home with the crowd, it almost always does. Almost always that song gets over like mad. But when it really hits, the crowd's up on their feet. They're all singing every single word and they're following you, everywhere you go. And it's a really good connection. So if I had to say I had a favorite, it would be that one.
All right, on. I really dig it. And so as I'm wrapping up this interview, Steve, I had such a great time chatting with you about all things music, the album Chasing Daylight, and everything in between. But as I'm starting to wrap up this interview, what are the plans for Steve Ramone for the rest of this year, 2023, and into next year, 2024?
Right. So I'm working on. There's one tour that's set, and that's starting end of August, and that's with Glenn Hughes of Deep Purple. He's doing the 50-year anniversary of the Burn record. So and so we'll be opening for him and Yngwie Malmsteen. So we'll be out on the road with those guys. We'll be all over. It starts in Indiana, goes through California, Denver, Utah, Detroit. It's all over the place. So we'll be doing that. I'm trying to work out a couple of weeks out on the road with Corey Feldman. I know it sounds crazy, but I want to play with him really bad. Chip's actually friends with the guy, and from what I heard, I mean, I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think it'd be kind of cool. So I'm trying to work that out. And then we're also in talks about doing that same there's 5 days in the UK, starting in Belfast, and then 5 days in Spain, starting November 1st. So we'll be in Europe probably most of November. So looking forward to that as well.
Sounds like you got some really great stuff in the works. Hope all that works out. And I hope to catch you at a show sometime. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Where are you at? Where are you coming out
of? South Bend, Indiana.
South Bend. Oh man, you're right. You're right here. So we need to hook up for dinner and a game or something, man. But absolutely. Oh well. Okay. So first show, the 27th in Hobart, opening for with the Midnight Devils and Yngwie.
Well,
please be my guest at the show, please. So let's.
Yeah, we can hook that up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I got. The other thing is I'm having I'm doing a food drive, a dog food drive. I'm trying to generate 10,000 pounds of dog food for my local shelter here. I just feel terrible for these guys that go in there, and I just feel awful for, and don't get me wrong, I understand that there's a lot of great causes out there, that there's people suffering and stuff out there. This one just tended to hit home and happened to get me up off my ass to do something. So I'm doing something, that's it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on, brother.
All right. If anyone's in, so the food drive, can you give me more details about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shelter in Worth, Illinois, and or Chicago Ridge, Illinois, and they do wonderful work. You can bring your dog in there. Well, I've gotten a couple dogs from there, and one of them ended up being my dog of a lifetime. My buddy Grover, who rest in peace, was just my guy. But what I found was that these people work on zero profit, and whereas some places you can go and, like, for instance, to get your dog spayed, I can take him to my to my bougie little vet around the corner here, and it's like $800 or whatever, and these people charge $75. It's like, and they're always telling you, if you think of it, bring a bag of food in. That's what they tell you all the time. It's like, okay, damn it, I'm gonna raise some food here, man. And I just came up with this idea last week when I'm and so it's still formulating and everything, but I'm working out a way where you can either donate and we'll buy the food and have it sent there, or I'm trying to work with manufacturers so that people can just have food sent, or even just like a credit where, like, you can show me a bag that you drop off at your local spot, and I'm going to count that, I'll count that as 10 pounds or 50 pounds or whatever. The idea is, I'll put your name on the website, and we'll all pat each other on the back talking about how we did something good for some animals.
All right, I'm definitely all for that, and I'm really happy to hear about that, and I do hope it works out very well, and people get the donations in and support those people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get me at steveramone.com. We are in the middle of updating the website. This thing should go live tonight sometime, but the completely updated website should be there, and you'll get your 10,000 pounds of dog food drive. You're going to get a lot of updated stuff, and the new Jump On It video is out, so you'll be able to take a look at that. And then anywhere music is sold. If you're an Amazon person, go to Amazon. If you're an iTunes person, go to iTunes. Wherever, Spotify, whatever. But if you stick in Chasing Daylight or Steve Ramone, you're going to find it. And, please download. This is how we bring new music to you. Otherwise, you're stuck listening to, 120 beat per minute dance music for the rest of your life.
Yeah, which, oh boy. Very
EDM.
good.
Did you see EDM coming? I got to be honest with you. I didn't see EDM coming. I thought it was going to go from what it was to, I thought it was going to get heavy right from there. I did not see EDM taking off the way it did. But hey, you know what? I mean, who am I? Whatever.
Fair point. Fair point. No, I didn't see that coming either. And how like huge it's gotten with everything. Yeah. Never saw it coming, but
Maroon 5 broke my heart. Broke my heart, man. They were an actual band for a while there, you know? They were an actual band and they can all play. I love that guitar player. He's a monster, you know, and Adam Levine's got a fabulous, you know, once in a generation voice. But they're Cher now. So I don't know what to make of it, you know? Oh, no, shit, I'm going to be in trouble
here. We'll see. If you get any paperwork from Maroon 5, let me know.
I know. Well, hell. It can't do me any harm, you know, right?
That's true.
If anybody else, Maroon 5 is mad at who? Who's that? Well, let me Google him.
Exactly.
Yeah, screw you, Adam. No, I'm sorry. I'm just joking. I love him. He's amazing. He really is.
Oh man! Well,
all right, brother.
I think that's
thank you so much.
A great way to end this interview. I will leave some links for Steve Ramone in the description of his podcast. Please check out and support him. Steve, thank you so much for stopping by Super Cool Radio.
Pleasure was mine. Thanks.
For Steve Ramone, I'm your host always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.
Behave, you crazy kids.